Hello YouTube. Okay, this is the first video on my BlackMaleAPATHY channel. Okay, now I got that name from my ASMR channel. I have an ASMR channel called BlackMaleASMR. Yeah, so a few of y'all probably came from that channel, so if you did, thanks. Hopefully you can tolerate what I put on her. Alright, yeah. But anyway, this first video, I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but I didn't want to put it on my ASMR channel because it's not going to be very relaxing. So anyway, what was it, August? Actually, last month it was August 14th. Right now it is September 19th, so about a month ago, I put a post on Facebook. I said, I don't care how attractive a girl is. If she's incapable of structuring her sentences properly, then I don't even want to be bothered with her. Okay, I said, there's one exception though. Okay, if the girl is a foreigner and has a strong accent, then that's good. Like, if that's the case, then she is free to structure her sentences as improperly as she wants to, because everything that comes out of her mouth will sound sexy to me. Yes, I said those accents make me weak every time. So that post, that's literally all I said. In that post, it caused one of my, she's no longer on my friends list now because she deleted me, but it caused one of my friends on there to call me a privileged cishet who's an ableist and a classist. Yes, I mean, she didn't say it all together like that, but you know, I just gathered everything she said, or everything she called me. Now, she was offended by my post, which doesn't make sense because the post wasn't directed toward her. The reason I made that post is because I was watching some YouTube video and there was a girl on there and she was like extremely beautiful, and she started talking, and the way she talked, just, it killed any kind of attraction I had to her. It was an American girl too. Looked like she was in her 20s or something. So her poor grammar and improperly structured sentences was a big turnoff for me. So I made this post. Let me see. So this girl that's on my friends list, she immediately said, this is kind of ableist, but okay. That's what she said. Now let me, and I responded. I said, it's only ableist, and if you don't know, ableist means a person who is, well, I'll just explain all of it. She called me a privileged cishet who's an ableist and classist. Cishet, I mean, we already know what privilege is, but cishet is the combination of the two words cisgendered and heterosexual. Okay. Now, cisgendered means that it's a person who identifies like I'm a male, okay, and I identify as a male, so that means I'm a cisgender person, which is a stupid word. I don't even know why they made that word in the first place. And heterosexual means that I'm attracted to the opposite sex. Okay, she called me an ableist. which means that I am, according to her, I am, I discriminate against people with disabilities, okay? And she called me a classist, which means that I discriminate against people who are of a lower class than I am. Okay, she derived all of that about me in that post that I put on Facebook. Okay, so anyway, her initial response was, this is kind of ableist, but okay. And I said, it's only ableist if it's pertaining to a little kid who's still learning grammar, okay? But an adult should be capable of speaking properly. I know some Americans who have structured their Facebook posts so poorly that Facebook asked me if I needed a translation. Yeah, their grammar is so bad that Facebook thinks these people are speaking in a different language other than English. So then she responded, she says, now I'm gonna call this, oh, somebody's alarm just had to start going off. But, and this girl, I'm not gonna use her real name, I'm just gonna call her Hipster. That's what I'm gonna call this girl. So Hipster responded and said, adults aren't capable if they have an existing problem. And I responded, I said, that's a different issue though. For example, in order for me to be hired with my current job, I had to be capable of lifting 70 pounds, okay? If I would have had a medical condition which restrained me from lifting 70 pounds, then I would have been denied the job. That would have not been a form of discrimination. Standards have to be set, and sentence structuring is a very basic standard that should be learned well before an individual makes it into high school. I just don't want to be with someone who needs a babysitter. Then she said, fair enough, wasn't worded that way and I needed elaboration. And I responded, I said, no problem, I wouldn't disrespect a girl who was like that. I just wouldn't date her. And then, let me see. And then a few other people kind of got into the conversation, so I'm just going to ignore what they said because I'm going to focus on this one hipster. Okay. What'd she say? She says, privileged children think it's okay to come for me and it isn't cute to be. Oh, she's responding to somebody else that responded to her. Let me. Okay, she says, the more you explain it, she's talking about me, the more I explain what I was saying, she said, the more I sound like a classist. Okay. She says, it was a good run with me, like her friendship with me. She says, but I have to draw the line somewhere. So anyway, on her page, she had, I should have taken a screenshot, but she had called me privileged, cishet, and all the other stuff. Now, let me close this because I'm done with this. And I'm going to get to what she said about me. So, I'm privileged. Let me tell y'all how privileged I am. Now, when I was a kid, my family, like, my family, we were very poor. And there were times when the only thing we had to eat in the house was grits. Okay, we had grits one day, next day grits, next day grits. Sometimes we had cream of wheat. Okay, and if we were lucky, my mother would have a loaf of bread. My mother would get that bread, dip it in some water, and pour sugar on the bread. Yes, that was our food. and when we have really, really good days, we have ramen noodles. Let me see how long this video. Okay, so yes, that's how privileged I was as a child. And there were other times when we couldn't afford our gas or electricity, I don't know, or I think it was the gas. The gas would get turned off, and it would be winter time, so it would be like 9 or 10 degrees Fahrenheit outside, snow everywhere, and we had no heat in the house. So my mother returned we had an electric stove or oven. She would turn that on in the kitchen to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and the kitchen had a walkway. It didn't really have a door. It had just an opening that led to the hallway and to the rest of the house. She would get a big piece of plastic and block that, okay, so to keep the heat in the kitchen. So we would all be bundled up in the kitchen, and we would just stay in the kitchen all day because that was the only livable place in the house. The rest of the house was freezing, literally freezing. And then at nighttime, like, she would have to turn the oven off because you don't want to have an oven set at 500 degrees while everybody's sleeping. So she would turn it off. We would go into our rooms and get in bed and get under the covers. And my brother and I, we shared a bedroom, so we had 2 beds in there. Anyway, we'd get under the covers. She'd be like, "Are y'all ready?" We'd be like, "Yeah." So she had one of those hair dryers, like what those girls used to dry their hair with. She would get one of those, or blow dryers. She would get that blow dryer and stick it under the cover and turn it on and leave it under there for about 30 seconds so it would get warm, And then sometimes she would come back about an hour later and do it again. And then during the summer, we couldn't afford the bills, so it would be so hot in there. Like in St. Louis, we reached triple digit temperatures in the summer, okay, in Fahrenheit. So it would be so hot in there that at nighttime, our mother would get face towels, put ice in the face towels and just, put it on our foreheads. And she would get like one of those bottles where they spray plants with water. She would spray us with that. So so we wouldn't overheat. Yeah, that's how privileged I was. Oh, I graduated high school when I was 17 years old. And like I said, it gets hot over here in St. Louis in the summer. So it's summertime, and I was riding my bicycle daily because I wanted to, I was about to join the military and I wanted to be in shape. So I would ride for miles and miles. But I would ride at nighttime because it was too hot in the daytime. So I was 17 years old, riding my bicycle on the sidewalk, and some cops pulled me over. Yeah, because I'm a privileged person. They pulled me over and interrogated me for I don't know how long, and they accused me of being a house burglar. Yes, like I was breaking into people's houses and stealing jewelry and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm just riding my bicycle. They're like, well, why are you out here riding your bicycle? I'm like, I'm exercising. I ride my bicycle to exercise. And they said, well, you fit the description. Why are you wearing those gloves? And I was like, I'm wearing them because I was getting blisters. And I showed them they were weightlifting gloves because I had taken a weightlifting class in high school. And if you've never seen weightlifting gloves, I'll explain them to you. Weightlifting gloves, they have pads in them, obviously, but the fingertips are cut off of the gloves. Okay, those cops were trying to say I was trying to hide my fingertips or my fingerprints. I was like, no, look at these. Okay, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just wearing these so I won't get blisters. So I had those lifting gloves on. I had a t-shirt, some basketball shorts, and some tennis shoes. That's it. Yeah. So I got pulled over because I'm a privileged person. And you know, I was living in United Arab Emirates a few years ago, and there were times I'll be walking. I didn't have a car for when I first got there, so there are times I'll be walking with like 8 or 10 bags of groceries in my hand, and the taxi drivers wouldn't pick me up. Yes, this well, I was over there in 2008, and like literally it was February 2008 until April of 2009. Yes, the taxi drivers wouldn't pick me up, but they would pick everybody else up. You know, people who didn't look like me. They won't pick me up though, because I'm a privileged person. Okay, but enough about privilege though. Now, she says, what's it? Hipster says I'm an ableist. I discriminate against people with disability. Okay, let me explain something to you. Stupidity is not the equivalent of a disability, okay? Disabled people can be intelligent, and non-disabled people can be stupid. Okay, the post that I put was addressed to stupid people. People who are too lazy to open a book, okay, or to listen in class, or to study. There is no excuse for that. They just want to be held accountable for their negligence, for their laziness. Okay, they don't want to be held responsible for anything negative, even if they caused it. Okay, so if you can't structure your sentences properly, I can understand if you have some kind of speech impediments, or you like dyslexia or something like that, maybe. But if you don't have any of those problems, and your horrible grammar is due to you just not paying attention in class, then no, that's not me discriminating against a disability. That's me pointing out that I don't be dealing with you, okay? Especially if you're some girl who's interested. No, you need to stay away from me. Alright. Then somewhere, somebody tried to say that I was saying something bad about foreigners. And I'm like, no. In the original post, I said that I'm attracted. I find it attractive when a foreign woman uses improper grammar when she's trying to speak English. That is sexy. So what else? She called me a classist. Okay, how can I discriminate against somebody who is of a lower class than I am? I mean, I'm like in one of the lowest. Well, no, it's not too bad, but I don't live any kind of luxurious way. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay, the street, I don't live in the ghetto really anymore, but the street is not very clean. You know, there's trash on the ground out there all the time. Actually, the guy that lived right next door to me, he was doing drugs and beating his girlfriend and stuff, so they finally had to kick him out because the police got involved a whole bunch of times and started asking me questions. What the guys that lived, some guys that lived in the building next to this one were also dealing drugs. They got kicked out finally, and they had vandalized my motorcycle and everything. I couldn't prove it, but it was them. But yeah, I'm, according to this hipster girl, I'm like at some high status in society. Okay, but yeah. Look, people are so easily offended these days, man. You don't even have to try anymore. I remember back when I was a kid, the only way you could offend somebody is if you tried, or if you did something that was offensive, but you did it by accident. But now, you don't even have to, you can just like sneeze too hard. Like there was one video I saw, like people were clapping. It was at some college uh, reward ceremony or something, or for a university, I think. They were clapping, and then people got triggered by clapping. I'm like, seriously? So some person went up and announced to the audience, hey, y'all can't be clapping anymore. You can snap your fingers, but you can't clap. Man, people, it's like these universities and the media and everything is like teaching people that it's okay to be weak. That's not a good thing, because when they get out there in the real world, nobody's gonna be there to hold their hand. Okay? Nobody's gonna be like, oh, okay, I'm sorry for clapping. Okay, nobody's gonna do that. You're gonna have to be strong, and you're gonna have to face situations that come up to you, especially if you are a man. Okay? I'm not even gonna get into that. But yeah, I just couldn't believe it. This girl said I'm privileged. You know, I have things that I have because I had to work hard for this stuff. I had to work hard for everything I have. And I deserve every bit of it too. And I'm not going to share it with anyone.